What is going on, people? Welcome to another new episode Behind the Scene Podcast. I am your host today, Dion Donovan, writer and creator of the infamous Florida Man at Title Page Comics. Y'all can check me out on Instagram and Facebook. And for this episode, it's a very special edition. This is essentially the Homeboy Talk edition of Behind the Scene Podcast. And we got our main man over here, Orion, Orion Online. What's going on, man?
What's up? What's up, everybody? You know who it is. It's Orion. Definitely on a collaboration effort with Behind the Scenes and Homeboy Talk. So this is a collaboration effort, and I'm hoping you guys enjoy the content because we have a lot to talk about, especially when it comes to the world of TMNT power.
Hell yeah, man. Let's get it. After about 3 or 4 months, after a couple months now from the release of issue number one of Last Ronin, we finally got our hands on issue number two this previous week. And the hype was real for the first one. You guys can check the back catalog. We did about 3 episodes. Me and Orion did 3 episodes on the first issue review and kind of just speculation on what's going forth. We got the second issue in, for better or for worse. It's here after all the long delays and all the frustration of waiting, and all that noise, man. IDW dropped it. And I just got to know, man, what is your first impressions of the second issue and continuing forward from the story in the first issue?
We kind of talked about this offline, but my first impression of the comic book, man, is I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, man. I was depressed. I felt like the hype that the first comic book did after reading the second one, and I know how everybody could be. It's like, was I in a bad mood or anything else? No, I was anticipating. In fact, I went to 2 comic book stores to get this issue. All right, so I was anticipating, and I was in a good mood. I actually ate. I had a good sit back, laid back on the bed, opened up the comic book like I was a kid in elementary school, reading comic books after you picking them up from a flea market or local comic book store and stuff like that. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, I sat back in a good mood, expecting to hear, well, actually expecting to read more about Mikey's upbringing and stuff. And guys, this ain't it, Chief.
This ain't Yeah, man. Okay, you got any more on that?
Well, I guess what me and you will do is we'll probably dive into. I felt like it was divided into 4 different things that took place, but
Okay.
I guess in the future speculation stuff like that, I will tell you guys that the reason why I will say that it dwindled down is because of the direction they went with this comic book. It really wasn't just like, it wasn't like how issue one was like, where it was just primarily all about Mikey. You'll get
Mm-hmm.
some here like about Oroku's grandson, or I will keep it OJ because I'm tired of trying to remember his name, but he goes by Oroku, stuff like that. But it was the first one was all about Mikey, but this one here, man, it jumped all over the place, and we didn't see what we expected Mikey to be doing because we're looking at a 5-issue series, and you're coming out with issue two like this. Yeah, they introduced a new character. They went into detail about other stuff well, if you guys read the first issue, you guys knew that April's still alive, but there was no clue about how Ninja Turtle, how the rest of his brothers passed away. But if you get into issue two, stuff like that, you'll see how what all took place. And there's this issue number two had its ups and its downs. But yeah, man, I'm gonna throw it at you, man. Like, what was your first impression about it?
And for my first impressions from here on out, we're just gonna throw it out there. Spoiler alert: if you haven't read issue two yet, go out, buy it, read it, come back later, and continue on forth with the video. But for my impressions for issue two, is very similar to yours, man. Because man, when the first issue came out like in October, wasn't it? You
Yeah.
know, we again going to back catalog, we had a whole journey to get the first issue. That shit fired on all cylinders, fast paced, beautiful art, just great storytelling and the drama of him trying to get revenge. Mikey did some a little bit of world building. It was I gave it a 9 out of 10. It was a great comic and great first impression. And since then we've kind of gotten delays. We really haven't gotten any previews of what's in this issue, which is good because we don't want this thing spoiled for us. But after the long wait of like was it 3 4 months and what they delivered
Mhm.
in this one, I gotta agree, man. They lost a lot of heat with the second issue. They lost a lot of heat in the second issue. I mean, it's cool that we got a little bit of the backstory and how the turtles died, right? This thing
Mhm.
is called the Last Ronin, so we should see that process of Mikey becoming the Last Ronin. What I don't like was the seed sown, sort of speak, in this issue going forth, man. I don't like. Well, we'll go into negatives. This is the negatives in my opinion, man. I don't like. I don't mind the flashback sequence using different art form, a different art style. I think it helps
Mhm.
establish that it's a flashback, sure. In this issue, we see the fall of Raphael,
Mhm.
which was pretty epic. He went out like a gangster. I think the most powerful and one of the best panels in the whole issue is when he drags Karai under the water, and he plans to drown her because Splinter got jumped and they got jumped and they had a truce between themselves. The Foot Clan and the Turtles had a truce and they broke in, they jumped them, and the Turtles ended up having to go and crash April O'Neil's and Casey Jones, I think like Thanksgiving or Christmas, whatever, dinner.
Mhm.
And Raphael, of course, being the hot-headed one, had to go out and get revenge, and went to the Foot Clan's base quarters at this pier or whatever. Went one on one with Karai, got her in the water, and there's a struggle, and Karai notices that Raphael has like a thin knife on the side of him, and Raphael stabs her with the sai, but she uses Raphael's own knife and stabs him right in the throat. And we see the life slowly drain from Raphael as he falls to the bottom of the water and he starts to bleed. Now that was a really powerful kind of panel because how many panels do you see the turtles die? you know,
Yeah.
can you
But
recall any
but
kind
you
of
had
fight
a
like that?
nah. I can't recall anything else. But I guess they try to pull that dramatic scene how they took one fucking giant page with a fucking size. I wonder how hard it was to draw that on one page. But
yeah,
okay, I get it's a cinematic moment or a dramatic moment.
right, right,
Okay, you know. But
right.
no, man, I didn't get that. I didn't get that. Very rarely I get that kind of feeling from a comic book. But just seeing Raphael getting taken out by Karai was something else.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was for the most part, the only highlight of the whole issue. I agree with you on this one. Some of the pacing, because again, the flashback sequences I think take up a majority of this issue, which is fine. But there's only so much flashback sequences we want. There's only so much backstory we really want. You know what I'm saying? It's like the turtles are dead, and we get to see a little bit of the process of that. But that's not the main story here. The main story isn't how did the turtles die. The main story is how's the last one gonna get revenge. And what I'm scared is for the next few issues, we're gonna get a flashback sequence to how each and every individual turtle dies before we get to the fifth one. Which I gotta be honest with you, that's bullshit. That's a lot of
Hmm.
filler, man. That is a lot of fucking filler, dude. I'm not feeling that
You
whatsoever, man.
you know what threw me off was all right when I read the comic. Here I am, man. They're building a Roku OJ as the top shredder, like they
Yeah,
he's gonna be taking on the throne of the new shredder stuff like that. So I'm here thinking like the first comic book almost set that precedence, like the presence of he's the one that took out all three turtles except for Mikey. But this right here kind of like caught me off guard. It's like, okay, this is something else. You have Karai do it, so you know I'm thinking that this shredder was gonna be him because I thought he took them all out, but this was Karai
right.
herself. So I was like, I would thought that Raphael would die to the hands of Shredder rather than a Karai. So I was like, I mean, I'm not a I don't want to be that person, but I'm going to be that person. I'm like, man,
Go
come on,
ahead,
man, you got
man.
taken out by Karai, Ralph. You gonna be taken out by Karai.
Yeah.
Oh, out of everybody else, you got taken out by Karai. Come on, man.
I
No.
know.
So I we're doing, man, but I was like that wasn't the way that I expected Ralph to go to be taken out. However, his hot headedness, yeah, I could. They played the role of how Raphael is in general, stuff like that. The hot headed type to go solo and stuff, who doesn't listen to reason and just does what the hell he wants to do. But to be taken out for like, you know, like you could have gave Raphael you know like a really really good go where like I be being taken out by a hand of foot soldiers by arrows or something like where there's a whole bunch of arrows or Shredder coming in and stuff like that, and just ripping them by piece, something like something, But you give us Karai in the drowning sequence, I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, man. They did a couple pages of him fighting the Foot Clan, and he's getting arrows, he's getting stabbed, he's getting jumped, and he's fighting like crazy. And then to do the one on one with Karai, and it's like your expectations of like, okay, you would expect someone like Shredder or even the new OJ, his grandson, right,
Mhm.
to take him out because we need to establish this villain as a viable threat. Because as it currently stands, it seems like Karai, his mom, did a majority of the work and not even Shredder.
Mhm.
It seems like Karai took out Raphael. Karai jumped the turtles to get Master Splinter basically dead. And we know there's going to be some kind of bomb or explosion in the next issue that's going to annihilate a majority of the rest of the turtles or some effect like that. And that's all of Karai's planning. Or maybe that's when OJ comes in. But to have Karai take out Raphael and then the explosions take out the rest of them for the most part, and this new villain, this OJ, didn't even touch him.
Mhm.
It really sets a bad precedence for this character because now you don't give him respect. He's not. You didn't build him up right. You didn't. He's not over as a heel. He has no weight under his shoes. So now when he fights off against Mikey, Mikey's gonna whoop that ass, man.
Oh
Mikey's gonna tear
yeah.
that ass up.
Mhm.
So that's another problem with so far with this, man, with the storylines being established. It's just what do you feel about OJ now, man? Knowing that it's his mom kind of really pulling the strings and getting the most of the work done and not him.
I don't like him already. I just don't like him. Like I thought he was the guy that did it, but you had to go ahead and hire. I mean, you had to let your mom go ahead and do the work, man. Like you ain't do it yourself. That's like you getting picked on by bullies in school and stuff like that. And your mom comes over to go ahead and bullies for you, something like that. Like I mean, I don't know, man. Like it's one of those essences. Like I just thought that being violent, very very violent world of Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. Bringing Ninja Turtles back to the beginning and stuff like that. I would thought that possibly that the Ninja Turtles would have probably taken out some more of Shredder's threshold and probably Karai taking out whatever villain out there, whether it's I don't know, Baxter Stockman, all this stuff, like just taking them each one of them, like just straight
Right.
up Japanese samurai way of like cutting heads off and cutting them in half and stuff, and
Hmm.
shredded, if it's, and then finally taking out Shredder, and finally taking out Karai and stuff like that. And maybe the grandson was like, all right, well, this is what they done to family, like these beasts, these turtles has done so much, has caused my family so much like sadness and sorrow. I'm gonna go and take it upon myself to go ahead and get rid of these turtles myself, and I thought that he was gonna be the it factor, But what you're telling me right now with this comic book, this was like, I was like, okay, all right, yeah,
Yeah,
It is what it is, you know.
yeah, and they had him beat up his own goons, right? They had him beat up his Foot Clan soldiers in a training sequence, and it's supposed to
Hmm.
showcase how badass he is and how ruthless he is to kill his own servants. And he said, don't hold back on me, fight me for real." And he kills his own training partner.
Oh,
That does nothing to make him a badass. That again
facts, big
establish
facts.
yeah, man. It establishes him as that kind of that whiny, spoiled brat fuck boy who
Hmm.
doesn't deserve the title and the prestige that he has as a villain. He doesn't
Hmm.
have like you said, we don't he doesn't have any weight in his shoes, man. He don't have any, he's not up to game. He's everything was given to him. If his mama did it and his grandfather did it and he just inherited the whole thing. Now it's just like, okay, he's unproven. So now the tension to get to him is no longer sort of there, because before it was like this guy's legit. Like if he faces off against Mikey and he took out the other three turtles, like imagine the three turtles went on him and he killed them one by one. Like imagine this dude was that skillful. Imagine this guy got that revenge for his mom and, like you said, his family,
Hmm.
and actually had the top billing like that, where he was skillful in his in mastery of martial arts to kill all the other turtles. And now you're saying that he didn't do it, and he's unproven. So now there's no tension of seeing Mikey go against this guy, because and you're gonna have to handicap Mikey. You're gonna have to have Mikey stabbed or have a couple arrows in him, or to be weakened by something else to level out, to even out the tension, because this guy can't go toe to toe with the best of the best, essentially at this
Hmm.
point. And that shit kind of sucks, man, because your story kind of falls and rises with the villain to a certain degree, especially with a story like this, where where it's revenge, it's a revenge story, and the guy who needs to exact his revenge on is is a wuss, essentially. It kind of, it kind of just brings the whole thing down a bit, dude. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, that's how you feel about it, right?
Exactly how I feel about it, man. Like you just you can't introduce us like a future generation. 'Cause it's almost like it's almost a play on how our, future generations handle their problems now, man. They deal with stuff over the internet, And now this is just this generation, like with this shredder generation, stuff like that. He just tells mom or tells whatever to go ahead and handle his situation. It's like if you want to be the next throne shredder or something like that, man, you'd have handled it yourself. You should have went out there. You took out Ralph. You would have drowned him and stabbed him with his own side. That would have been a compelling story to tell. That this
Yes.
new shredder comes in, drowns Ralph in the docks in the bay, and stabs him with his own side. And fuck it, let him take that damn side with him as a consolation prize. Like I said, yep, I did it. That's why that one side is missing, and Mikey's about to retrieve only one. Because
Mm.
this shredder took the other side and said that was mine.
And
Like
made fucking
this
turtle soup
shredder
out of him.
this yeah, this shredder should have been gangster, but no, Karai both. All right, so Shredder cries dead. So I was like, all right. So that's what I was like. Yeah, it's something. It is what it is. I guess this is what it is. I mean, because Shredder's supposed to be the toughest of the tough. Possibly a kind of like the Leon Ralph is the Goku and Vegeta. One who's got the highest potential of them all. And Ralph is supposed to be the stronghold of the turtles and stuff like that. He's supposed to be the tough turtle to take out. The man that could take any impalings of swords and blades and arrows and all that stuff like that and still go the whole entire mile and stuff like that. But you take him out first. Uh, I get because he is a hothead, and he goes everything at solo, so he's a higher risk of getting killed first because of the way he is, something like that. But to take him out this kind of way, man, I'm like I wasn't with it. I'm sorry, I wasn't.
Yeah, yeah. I get some of the shock value was that, it was Karai that did it and not Shredder or OJ, as we're saying, but Again, man, it's just a little bit disappointing how it was. You didn't. There was no Baxter Tech involved. There was no Crane involved. There was no outer forces. Really, it was just literally Foot Clan goons and Karai just having a good night of
Yeah,
execution, man, and
yeah.
getting Raphael out of there like that. Another problem that I saw with this issue is the introduction, like you mentioned previously, of some new characters. We got Casey Marie Jones, which
Uh,
is Casey and April O'Neil's daughter.
uh,
And yeah, you could just tell from the groans and how we're talking about her right now, how she is just a waste of page space. Let's be honest, man. We don't need to see her. She introduces herself. She saved Mikey, and she's like, "Oh, I heard about you. Your mom, my mom used to talk about you all the time, and I train martial arts too." And she's got kind of a not a low cut top, but she's showing some stomach and some, she's showing some skin, and she's supposed to be spunky, and it made her this weird spunky sex kind of girl, sexy girl thing. But I was not interested in her. Nobody's really interested in her. And we got to see a little bit of her crew in the first issue. We know she has some kind of crew. They're called the Resistance. You already know where that you already know where that's gonna go. So again, another character introduction to somebody new who really shouldn't take as much panel space as she did. I would have much rather had a conversation between Mikey and his brothers in the spirit form rather than continue to see her kind of just chalk it up and saying kind of fangirl about Mikey being alive and what her mom talked about her throughout her whole childhood. What do you feel about this character so far, man?
the introduction of her and stuff like that when April was um, cooking breakfast and stuff, and trying to feed Mikey and stuff like that. Uh, there was a panel out there where she shouted Casey, and Mikey looked around. It's like, oh, Casey's still alive, and this this girl. Cause I'm just like Mikey. I was like, I was anticipating Casey Jones. Like, oh, he survived. Oh, snap! But this, I'm like, hi. And then here's April. I said, yeah, this is Casey Marine Joe. It's like, all right, I'm already disappointed with the karate stuff, but you give us this, like, had the Ninja Turtles are like, all right, okay, um, off the grid of last roll and stuff like that. Hadn't we had enough? Like, I'm not trying to be the sexist person, and I'm gonna say that it's podcast. Like, you guys have to understand where I'm coming from. All right, had we had enough of like in female empowerment in the Ninja Turtles, like I respected Jenica, even before then, I even respected Venus, the live action turtle stuff like that.
Hmm.
But then when you go off to Beyond and stuff like that, where there was like there's a new Ninja Turtle, female Ninja Turtle named Lita, I'm like, okay, stop. you know. Then now
Right.
I go in the last round expecting to read a different dimension of Ninja Turtles over there, and you're gonna go out here. So yeah, we got a new female on the team. Okay, I had already accept April being alive, but then you're gonna give us Casey Marie Jones. It's like, oh my god, like
Yeah, man. Uh,
I was like, I felt like a kid again, something like that. I was like, I felt like a kid thinking about only having just four turtle action figures and stuff like that, and you dealt with just that. That was just your core, your core characters, stuff like that. You didn't care about any other introduction of anything else. You didn't care about no female turtles. You didn't care about no April O'Neil. You didn't care about all that. You only cared about the four turtles. And that's how I felt about this comic book. Was I only cared about the four turtles. However, this was supposed to be about three of them is dead and all about Mikey, but you introduce other characters. It should only be about Last Ronin. It says it in a comic book. It's called Last Ronin. Let it be about
right.
Mikey. Like I like the backstory of it all, going back with the story, the old art illustration stuff like that. I like the fact that Mikey, and like he's still in spiritual connection with his brothers and stuff like that. But when you go out there and throw all these little filler elements like Casey Marie Jones, the fangirl who comes in says, "I study a little bit of this, and that." I don't care what you study. I don't. I don't. Why are you here?
Right.
Like, go. Like, I have no respect for this new character. I'm sorry. I will be that person. I don't. I am open minded, but I had enough. Like I said, no. I can do without this case. This case goes. Like I will go back to the cartoon, Ninja Turtles in the future. Casey Jones and April now already had a kid. It was a
Mm.
son. I forgot his name, but he had a son. They had a
Oh
son,
shit.
and
Okay.
Ninja Turtles fast forward or whatever. I remember having the action figure of the Ninja Turtles in the future, which is pretty cool looking, But I remember watching a little bit of the cartoon. This was back when the Fox for Kids shows was on and stuff like that, and that was the 2000 Turtles stuff like that. The cartoon, the animated cartoon series. When
Right.
they went in the
Right.
future and stuff like that. This is Casey Jones and April O'Neil's son, so they had a son in the future. And even then, I wasn't acceptive to Casey Jones. I mean, I get that Casey Jones and April O'Neil were going to elope at some point, but you ain't got to sit here and give us some offsprings. And even it, like even then this wasn't it for me, man, when it came to introduction of Casey Jones and April O'Neil's offspring and stuff like that. It's like we really didn't need it for this series of last one. We really didn't need it. I did The purpose of her was to bring in the resistance so Mikey would have some help. This should be about Mikey. He should be able to do this solo. Last Ronin. He should be able to go out there and do this by himself. But I don't think that giving Mikey some help is going to help support the way of what this particular series should be all about. Last Ronin.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally, man. Because we know that with this resistance comes new characters that we briefly saw in the first issue. Her little biker gang. So now you're gonna have a new bunch of new characters you don't give a fuck about, and their
Mm-hmm.
resistance. And they're gonna give the aid to Mikey and take away Paige, panel space away from the main attraction here, which is the last Ronin. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to judge, too harshly or prejudge the next three issues, but what I don't want to see really is Mikey getting a huge assist from this resistance, and then him. And we still there's some cliffhanger with April O'Neil knowing something or having some kind of gadget as well. So if anything, April O'Neil should be the most assisted. Most assists, the most assistance he gets with this whole
Mm-hmm.
thing should be April O'Neil, and her daughter should have been the one to rescue Mikey because she recognized him from her mom's story, and then leave it at that. And no
Mm-hmm.
resistance, none of it, because that's you know what I'm saying. That's so that is so like I know the whole dystopian future is cliched or whatever, but this storyline's 10 years old, so fuck it, right? Yeah, but man, the resistance. I don't want. It's just you already know where this is going. You know where this is going, man. And I really wanted to see this lone samurai come out, against the odds and win and exact revenge and get honor for his fallen family. And
Mm-hmm.
when you introduce the resistance, when you introduce April O'Neil potentially giving more than just the assist, when you start giving us all these side characters we don't give a fuck about, and then you have a new villain that no one's starting to give a fuck about because he's hasn't earned shit.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's starting to crumble a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, man. With this issue number two, it is starting to crumble a little bit, in my opinion, in terms of the pacing and the direction and overall. It's redundant. If they had, like you said, April and Casey had kids in other series and other animations. It's not really necessarily needed right here. It could just be a girl she adopts, like April O'Neil kind of has like a small clique or whatever. It doesn't have to be her direct daughter,
Hmm.
you know. And it was teased in the first issue. It was pretty obvious. Nobody wanted to confirm it because it was still speculation, but I mean, they literally called her Casey in the first issue, and everyone was like, "Oh, is that Casey Jones' daughter?" And it's like, "Oh, yeah." I mean, it is. There wasn't even a twist to that. Um,
I was hoping for the rumors to be fake, but here we are.
right, right. Here we are. Here we are. And then the progression, I get it. You had such a bombastic first issue. It was very fast paced. Probably one of the better first issues, first impressions you can have with a comic book, man, with that first issue. So you need some time to breathe, right? You had all that action, you had all that tense drama. You got taken on a roller coaster ride. Now we need to slow down a bit, which is fine. That's cool. But on the other hand, you need to give us enough of a reason to come back. You need to, not so much of it needs to be filler with characters we don't care about. I would much rather seen OJ instead of tackling his Foot Clan soldiers. Hey, hold on a second, man.
Hmm.
All right, I'm back. Yeah, man, it's just, man, the whole resistance shit. Oh, dude. I mean, I can go on about it forever, forever. How by the book it is. I hope we're wrong. I hope things take a turn in the next issue. My biggest fear is the resistance providing a good boost for Mikey. My fear is that we get an individual death for every turtle as a flashback sequence in the next 3 issues, which would be bullshit. I mean, I think this next one, that's it. After this next one, there's no more flashback sequences. There's almost no more explanations of what happened. That can be explored in some spin-off shit, man. That's almost
Yeah.
like, though sometimes it's just best to have somewhat of a mystery. Sometimes you don't even need to explain everything, man, because the hook is so strong, you know.
Hmm.
So I mean, I'm gonna give you my score, man, for this issue. Well, what were some of the positives for you for this before we get to the final scores, man? Was there anything positive that stuck out to you about this issue number 2 before we move on?
I think the only positive out there, man, was the Ralph's new look. I'm you know what? I'm going to be throwing out the most minimalistic positives out there because that's
Uh,
all I can see out of it. But Ralph's new look and the dialogue. I know we've seen it in the first issue, but I like the dialogue with Mikey and his spiritual brothers. But other than that, man, everything else was I was in a good mood the whole entire comic book, and everything else was a miss. Honestly, to be honest with you, it was been a miss.
yeah, man. I for positives with me, yeah, Raphael's new look is pretty sick. It is
Hmm.
pretty cool. This was pretty much billed as the Raphael issue. He's on the cover. I think he, for the most part, takes up majority of the pages in the book. This was sort of like if you're a Raphael fan, he's the most marketable, he's the most popular one. This was supposed to be a seller just on the impression that this is Raphael's issue of Last Ronin or whatever. Um, Positives for me, I still think the art's pretty well done in the for the current timeline. And the flashback sequences, they're not too shabby at all. I think the artwork is still pretty solid. Um, I think the mood and setting is still decent. Um, in terms of positives, to be honest with you, besides like you said, Raphael's look, the dialogue between Mikey and the turtles, the spirits of his dead brothers. I can't really say too much else in terms of a positive outlook on the book. My final verdict for what this book is, and the long wait and the anticipation. I'm gonna give this one a 7 out of 10. Average, average book. It's not the worst. It's not the best. It's kind of like not filler, but it's kind of like a. I'll take it as a break between what's going forth in the next 3 issues. But I think they need to definitely pick up the pace again and find some way to get Mikey back center stage against this war against Oroku, and make OJ more menacing. Make him a legitimate threat. Put something to him that makes him feel like I'm not sure if Mikey's gonna beat him or not. You know what I'm saying? In a one-on-one fair fight, so that tension is back. Because that first issue, man, it was like, okay, if he does get to this dude, I'm not sure if he's gonna beat him. I don't know much
Mm-hmm.
about this guy. I don't know his powers. I don't know his feats. I don't know what the hell he's done. So I'm not even sure if Mikey can even beat him if he even gets there. But each issue so far just seems to prove that it just seems to disprove that, man. He just really seems like a whiny brat who keeps sending hordes and hordes of goons to do his bidding and uses trickery. And we're not even sure he's smart. We're not even sure if he's really smart, to be honest with you, at this point. He just sends goons to do his bidding, and that's really about it. So, 7 out of 10 for me, man. I'm of course I'm coming back for issue number 3, but man, they it's just it's a bit it's a it's definitely disappointing from the first issue, and I hope they can prove us wrong and turn around for the next 3, man. What's your review on it? Score.
Uh, After I give you my review, man, I don't know if asking this question would be appropriate at the time because like I don't know if it's worth waiting for the next 3 series to come out, but yeah, my review going forward, and I'll probably still ask this question afterwards. Honestly, I have to give it a straight 5 because
Mm.
it just wasn't. I mean, it's crazy because if you guys seen the last episode behind the scenes, I gave in last Ronin first issue a 10, which is a rare occurrence,
Mm-hmm.
and um, sorry, I got a vacuum in the background and stuff.
No, it's all good, man. All part of a recording, dude.
Yeah, it's the only issue. That's the reason I'm trying to, even as much as I saw, try to soundproof the room, still get background ambience and stuff like that. But yeah, to be honest with you, that's what I'll say. I will. I've given this issue a 5, especially when I gave the first issue a 10.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is because it just wasn't firing on all cylinders as I thought that issue 10 was going to influence issue 2.
Mm.
Um, I guess the question I want to ask that I feel like that's probably going to, probably would be inappropriate to ask, but probably be appropriate. But I gotta ask, man.
Go
Like,
ahead, man.
is it? How would you? You know what? Never mind. How about we just say, how would you rewrite issue number 2? That probably be that's probably what I wanted to get out is if
Uh,
if you were the writer director for issue number 2, how would rewrite it? How would you come off of that strong energy and hype that issue 1 came from, and how would you continue the energy for issue 2?
if I were to rewrite issue number 2, first thing I would do is to put over OJ as a legitimate villain. I would have him take out Raphael or show signs of planning that attack or having some sort of, I don't know the time gap between the present day and that flashback, but I would show some signs that OJ participated in the destruction of the turtles for sure. Two, I would minimize Casey's daughter, Marie Jones. I would minimize her a bit more for sure. Um, Take away some of that panel space, dedicated to something else, and I would have a little bit more of a stronger cliffhanger. I would have something like OJ got a signal of where their whereabouts are at, and he's on the last page. He's just like, send all units over to this location. We're gonna smoke them out or something like that. Some sort of sense of danger is lurking, and can Mikey and April get out of this predicament before it's too late or something like that. So I probably would have tried to leave it on a stronger cliffhanger other than April O'Neil carrying some unknown device that I don't know, maybe the turtle heads have some kind of clue or insight on what that is, but I have no idea. And I have
Mhm.
no idea what that really plays in the whole story. So those would be the three main things I would do. Have OJ take more control of how the turtles were killed. Lay off the daughter, Casey Marie Jones, and a stronger cliffhanger to bring us back for the next issue because honestly, April O'Neil holding some unknown device, looking kind of sketchy about it, is not much of a hook to return for number three. Not gonna lie, that's kind of a cliffhanger that's kind of like, who cares? But impending doom, impending danger of an invasion of OJ being on the offensive with Mikey and them not fully healed up. That could be okay. All right. Oh shit. Now what's gonna happen now? He's sending them over. You know what I'm saying? There's danger. So that would be the three things I would do to rewrite issue number two. How about you, man?
Okay. Yeah. To rewrite it, I would probably go more direction of Ralph being a high. Like if I would go straight to the, I'll start off with the flashback
Uh huh.
first. Come kick in with the flashback where Ralph goes solo and stuff like that. And fights off a whole bunch of Foot clans and stuff like that. And then let's get to the point where he meets up Karai and stuff like that, and he kills Karai. You know
Mm-hmm.
and let's say that he dove into Oshi, kills Karai, which he really did, but he survives, with his own sai impaled into him and stuff like that. But it doesn't kill him.
Uh
He's able to swim up,
huh.
come out of the lake or dock, and climb up, bleeding, having a hard time to survive and stuff like that. Then come out from the midst of an alley and stuff like that. You just have a slowly walking OJ walking up and stuff like that,
Mm.
and OJ finishes the job. And
Yeah.
then OJ looks around and stuff like that and sees that his mom is missing or something like that. That would anger him the most to try to take out the rest of the brothers.
Right. Right.
So as like I said, as a consolation prize, he takes Ralph's side and takes it with him back. And then and he's like, I vowed to finish my family's you know
My
due
family's
diligence,
work.
yeah, do his work and stuff like that. Then, like, fast forward, then get to the point where, all right, cool. His a threshold has I mean, because the whole storyline of Raphael crashing the dinner table. I mean, Thanksgiving and all that stuff like that. I That's cool and all, but to start off strong, you
Uh
probably
huh.
wanted to do. You really didn't need it. You could have cut that whole entire night. You could have just went directly with Raphael. Save some pages.
Yeah,
From
you could have.
Mikey.
Mm-hmm.
Like we didn't need it crashing the Thanksgiving. Like we get it and stuff like that. You could have just kept it individually with just Ralph. Then then after that, then you can go into where Oroku is back at his temple and stuff like that. At his dojo, and he's facing off the Foot Clan and stuff like that. That panel. Those panels alone were compelling information, compelling, you know, artifacts enough because of the fact that is he's fighting off the such foot soldiers like I want you to go full force, go hard, go hard and stuff like that. Give me all you got because he says like in order for me to defeat the rest of the turtles, I need you guys at your best, and if you can't give me your best, then I will take you out of it. I will take you out of here. That would have been great. That would have been
Mm-hmm.
great to have. And then after that, then you can go into April O'Neil having to wake up and stuff like that, and discovering, that Mikey is in bed and stuff like that, recovering and stuff like that, because of the fact of the matter is he's out here on issue 1. He tried to take his own life. Let Mikey look around, stuff like that. Says, who saved me and stuff like that. Then I'll accept, you know, I'll accept Casey. I didn't need the build up of like, hey Casey Jones and stuff like that, and then and
Hmm.
her showing up for breakfast, stuff like that. She could have been like, she could have came out of bed, woke up Mikey and stuff like that. And it's just like, hey Casey, get in here and stuff like that. Then Casey makes a brief appearance and stuff like that. Then says that it's a like, because Mikey, he's already in confused state, stuff like what's going on, stuff like that. That's when you can have April say like, hey Casey, get in here. And Mikey could have been like, hey, Casey Jones still alive? And here's daughter Casey comes out and stuff like that. And that's that. You didn't really need to go into detail about Casey stuff like that. You could add more different dialogue with with just Mikey and April O'Neil and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
then after,
man.
yeah, because like that's all we really need is what was April's contributing factor to saving Mikey, and it was just basically because she has a fucking daughter to go save Mikey, from what he was getting ready to do. But then when it comes to the backstory of like how Mikey built himself up to learn all of his brother's skill and saving his Master Splinter's books and stuff like that, all the studies and stuff like that, you know, uh, you could have went with the whole entire factor where he's having a spiritual talk with his brothers, stuff like that, and he was talking about like, said, you guys, you don't know how much I want this. I want you guys' revenge, stuff like that, and then you could have talked about his backstory and stuff like that. It's like what I had to do was I had to do this, that, and this and the other and stuff like that. Ralph, I have to learn your skill. Leo, I had to learn your skill. Donnie, I had to learn your skill, stuff like that,
Yeah.
and a lot of stuff like that. Keep it within the brothers with the backstory of Mikey and stuff like that. So we could have went then and stuff like that. We could have went from there and stuff like that. And then at the end of the comic, you could have went like this. So, Mikey, what do you plan to do? Kind of like have as a cliffhanger, and then, so it's like it's having a spiritual talk with his brother, stuff like this. And so, what do you plan to do? Stuff like that, And you could have gave Mikey the best, one of the best dialogues alone, stuff like that. It says, "I'm going to kick ass," wherever the fuck. But we didn't
Yeah.
need a cliff. We didn't need it. We don't need a small silent, like small, like small thing of like, oh, I'm gonna have the resistance involved. I don't give a fuck about the resistance. I don't.
No one does.
I don't. I don't. I don't give a fuck about Casey Marie Jones, and I don't give a fuck about resistance, something like that. I want Mikey at his best. He's sitting there, so like, with all that I've learned, I vow to kick ass on the name of Ralph, Leo, and Donnie, and boom, cut, get ready for the issue 3. Keep the flame going, you know?
Yeah. I agree. Keep the momentum going because I don't want to see much more April, man. Like, I mean, it's cool we saw her. She came to the rescue. She healed. Like this device that she's holding. I don't want her to take more of the center stage away from Mikey, dude. I don't want her
Mm,
or anybody else, dude. Like, I don't want this shit to be a back pilot to a Marie Jones and the Resistance spin-off book with Last Ronin because
yeah,
I don't want to see that shit because I think Kevin Eastman said that with what he has with Last Ronin, he said he can do tons of spin-offs and continue the storyline. He said he can make a almost like not a full comic book line, but he can make sort of a couple more issues and spin-offs off this premise that he has with Last Ronin. And I just hope that this Marie Jones and the Resistance is one of those horrible spin-off ideas for a book no one wants to buy, no one gives a fuck about. Like that's one of the worst things. I mean, it's comic books. It's a way to backdoor solo series and spin-offs and shit. Sure, it's a way you make money, but make sure that the first story is straight, man. Make sure that the before you start thinking of expanding and doing this and this and that, make sure what you have now is a classic because first issue, if they would have kept that, I was very confident, like, yo, this might be one of the all time greatest turtle. This might make it into that comic book stratosphere, one of the all time greatest stories told. And now this one sunk it, man, hard. And
Mm-hmm.
it's I can't these next three are gonna have to do some work to get
Mm-hmm.
that thing back up there to even get it back in the realm of talking about one of the all-time greatest comic book storylines of the 2020s and 2021s of this new era of comics. So I gotta admit, man, they got some work to do, and I really feel like this momentum was stopped, and I feel like they can kick it back up if they put the focus back on Mikey and the Turtles and the danger of getting that OJ. And if OJ's a punk, at least make him a smart punk. At least make him strategic. At least
Mm-hmm.
make OJ, because he seems like a very hot headed, spoiled, whiny bitch. He does. That has everything given to him. At least make him like it's hard to touch him because he puts you through so much shit. He tires you out. He injures you. He puts you through traps. He puts you through mental hell. That's some of his game plan. He's not the best fighter, but he's a strategist. Some kind of allure, man. This guy is. I'm not getting anything from OJ, dude. I'm not. And I don't know. Karai is frozen still. I'm not sure she's get resurrected. If she'll ultimately be the big baddie behind this all, which I'll be honest with you, with the thinking, with so far how this thing's paced and how OJ has been perceived, I would not be surprised if he dies by issue 4, and there's a big reveal for who the real big baddie of this thing might be, which might be Karai or might be Shredder, man.
What if
That's just
Karai
my
was the
spec.
new Shredder? I'd be fucking pissed.
Karai is the new Shredder, man. Yeah, dude. So you got anything more to say about issue 2? Because we were so impressed. We made like 3 videos on that first one, man, and this one has just been kind of So, you got anything else to say about it before we wrap it up?
Um, I mean, with issue 2 and how it transpired and stuff, and how it's on shelf stuff, apparently there's some still buzz about it because when I went to 2 comic book stores, you know, like this with the first one, it shut down, but the second one, so they already have it on stock, but it was still a popular item to get. But after trying to really like get more in depth with the character and stuff like that, and seeing what they did with issue 2. I honestly hope that they give us more in issue. You really can't give us anything like that here in issue 2 and stuff like that. You got to go like 100, man. Like this comic book really felt like filler. Like I understand if this was gonna be like a hundred, like a continuing series, but this is a 5 comic
Mm-hmm.
book series. You just cannot do that. That does not work. I get that the comic book is a big book. You getting there's a value in it for $8.99. If you guys paid $8.99. But there's value in it and stuff like that, because there's more to read than an average comic book. However, it didn't need to be like that, Like if you were gonna give us Casey Marie Jones stuff like that, then give us a spin-off comic of just Casey Jones. Like that, Casey Jones' name sells alone. Like
Hey, can you
Casey
say that again?
Jones
You
with
you're cut out on the recording. Can you just say like the last 30 seconds again?
Yeah, I was saying like if you're going to introduce Casey Marie Jones, I would say that you need to write you need to have a spin-off comic book of Casey Jones because the name sells in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because Casey Jones, you're gonna have Casey Jones, part of the last Ronin arc, whatever series and stuff like that. They just said Casey Jones. You need to have the Marie part in there. Just say Casey Jones and have a separate thing, and going through a backstory of her, draw up a whole bunch of dialogue of how she was a fan of Ninja Turtles and stories that her mom used to tell. Go go that instance stuff like that. But I don't need her to take up that many pages. You know, it's almost like you're taking up too much out of the spotlight of exactly what Mikey's what this comic book was supposed to be about. Only Last Ronin, only Mikey. We don't need. I don't need anything from Casey Jones. I don't need anything from the Resistance. It should only be the only thing that matters should be about the backstory, the flashbacks, and little details about April O'Neil and her part. You know, because apparently
Yep.
she's still alive. But like, I guess we just didn't mention too much is that she's got prosthetics on, so she's got an arm and a leg missing. You know,
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I don't
This.
I don't need her. I don't need to see that. I don't need to see her putting that on or anything else. It's wasted panel space.
Yeah, it doesn't add April's suffering and like, okay, we get it. She's old, she's stressed, she's lived a hard life now in this new modern age under Roki's rule. Yeah, that is. I mean, I prefer that panel space over her daughter, fangirling over Mikey, and saying,
Right.
"Oh yeah, I train in martial arts. I'm self-taught." Like that. That is just like, just save it for the freaking spin-off book. Don't put that shit in here, man. I don't. No, no, it's not cool. And it's cool if you show the loss, the heavy burden that April had because her loved one died. Casey died. That's fine. That adds a little bit to the atmosphere. I'm okay with that. What I'm not
Hmm.
okay with is her daughter, primarily her daughter, and some of the flashback sequences. I really think you could kind of show all three turtles die in one issue. I don't think it takes multiple issues to showcase the turtles really dying like that. Do you?
Very true. I mean, if you're able to sit here and draw up like Karai killing Ralph and what might happen to, because I'm thinking that the next one is probably going to be, um, I think the next one is going to be Donnie. And then they're going to leave Leo last. You know,
Yeah.
but yeah, man. Like I honestly think that that's that's what they should have done. They should have had they should have had like issue two should have definitely been about flashbacks of Ralph, Donnie, and Leo. You know, maybe Leo should have been the cliffhanger. Then then go into issue three.
Yeah.
After after that, yeah, then you would have hold a lot more weight to last run and stuff like that. Because keep in mind, kids ain't picking up last Rona. Name a 7-year-old or 8-year-old or a 9-year-old picking up last Rona. I will wait. There's not no kid is
Nah.
checking for last Rona. So if you're trying
Nah.
to hold back on, you know, killing of the turtles and stuff like that, don't just don't. Like just go ahead. Like if the story needs to be told, there's got to be weight to the last Ronin.
Mm-hmm.
Give us 100, man. Like if turtles gotta go. The turtles gotta go. They gotta go. You know to to tell the story right. Why the last Ronin exists? Why is this comic called Last Ronin? We need to know why it's called Last Ronin. And if you took out all three turtles in issue two and had Leo being the last one as a cliffhanger to issue three, oh, I mean, honestly, I probably would have thought that more comic books would have flown off the shelf because come on, man, like off the Ninja Turtles, man, when they had the introduction of Lord Draken and stuff like that, and him taking out a whole bunch of Power Rangers for their power, it's almost like they didn't hold back on how powerful Lord Draken was. So
No, they
don't
didn't.
hold. So let's not hold back on how powerful the clan of the Foot Clan and how powerful this or how powerful the clan because apparently it ain't Shredder or OJ or Roku that did the job. So you should just go ahead and just show us give us the emphasis of how powerful the clan is. To take out the turtles. You know.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, man. I almost like I have similar sentiments to you. This could have been like a whole flashback sequence, and Mikey wakes up and he gets the tea, has that last speech with his brothers in spirit, and that's your conclusion for the second issue. Like, just get it out the way, so to speak. Just showcase it all in the second issue, like a whole flashback sequence, and that way there's no more back and forth, there's no more mystery. Now it's just legitimately, how is Mikey going to exact his revenge? And now we have this next issue, which the cover, I'm sure you've noticed, Leo's sword and Casey Jones' mask on top of burnt rubble. That's not that's not a good sign. I mean, I don't want another flashback issue, man. I just
Mm-hmm.
don't. I want to see story progression. I don't want these last two issues to be okay. Now we're in the finale. Like, it needs to be progress made, especially when this next one comes out in May. It's February, March, April. Like 2 more months, and this next issue comes out. You gotta
Mm-hmm.
have. You gotta maintain that heat. This is why people wait for trades. This is why people wait for trades. This is why. This is why runs drop off, or big events drop off after the first two issues, whatever, because you lose the heat, you lose your momentum. And sure, your story doesn't always have to be rising to the climax and always on top, sure, but you gotta the middle ground. It has to keep your attention, it has to keep your allure. And when you especially have 2, 3, 4 month waits for the next issue, and you're like, we're dying to get it, and then when you have that feeling less and less and less, if you get issue three, you're like, what, fuck it, man. I'm just gonna wait for the trade.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, what? I was so hyped for this thing, and now I'm so like out of it because of the pacing and the direction. I'll just wait for the fucking trade paperback. I'll forget about it and then come back to it later.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. Kevin Eastman, I'm hoping he can turn this around in a better direction. I trust what he has intended. I trust his intentions. I trust his plan because the man's been doing it for so long. I hope he can stick the landing, and make this solid. Doesn't have to be a comic classic, but something to come back to, and have that. Yeah, this is one of the best Ninja Turtle storylines out there, no doubt. We'll see if we can get that back in number three. For all you listeners out there, let us know what you thought about the last Ronin issue number two. Like, share, subscribe. With that, we're out.
Definitely.
Peace.
Bounce.